So yeah, how do you feel about me springing these um, topics on you without talking to you about what they're about?
I mean, I feel like it is just as effective as if you don't tell me because I have no idea what I'm going to talk about either way it goes.
So it's totally all right.
It's like going to a large AA event that's supposed to have panelists and a speaker, and then out of nowhere, as you show up, you get asked if you can like fill in for somebody else, and you didn't like prepare for it at all. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
that.
You know, my first
What?
open talk was just that.
DW, what is up?
DW. He can hear me. He can see you.
Maybe we are the same.
We are combining forces. You can see me too. I got my finger up. You can't see that? I'm just in cartoon form. What's up, Jaybird? Alrighty. Has it been 5 minutes yet? No, we're about halfway there. Stupid timer.
What's up, Billy? What's up, Jaybird? Lobo Mo. Lobo. You need to get a Facebook. Just for stuff. Don't even give it to your friends and family. Like, I know, like, you just make a fake Facebook identity.
Just make a real Facebook identity. Just make a real Facebook identity and make it private as hell, so like nobody can even friend request you.
Word!
What's up, Howard? I've not seen you in a minute on here. Love it, love it. Oh.
There's a lot of exciting things going on.
I forgot what the topic was.
You may not want to miss this one.
Miss what one?
I don't know. That's what it says. Cool Talk Tuesday. You may not want to miss this one.
That's because I'm pretty sure at one point today I had something on my mind that was going to be epic. Now I just got to remember what it was supposed to be. It says
you may need to have an extra or two. Are you going broke by saving one or saving money? You know, I heard about saving money and being broke because you know what? I found out inflation doesn't care if you're saving money.
Inflation does not care. In fact, that's a, you know what? Let's do this. Hold
on. Oh, Cartoon Rick.
All right. Well, I want to be taken seriously, Alex. Good God. Cartoon Rick. Jeez. Something about you people. By you people, I mean you specifically.
Hey, you know what I also heard? Oh, never mind. Go.
What'd you hear?
Scared money don't make money.
Oh, I see. That's some strange stuff. Anyway, so what is this about going broke saving money? Like, inflation does care if you save money. Because if you're saving money and inflation happens, all of a sudden you have less money.
Yeah.
But if you're investing money and inflation happens, you've done already invested in whatever wasn't as expensive as it is today. So what do you invest money in? I mean, obviously, I'm not a stock market guy, and I don't mess with that. So, I'm not thinking that we're not going to be talking about stocks because I don't know anything about stocks. But what we are going to talk about is some things that I got a little experience with, and Alex has learned a few things about. Alex, what is that? What is that craziness that you listen to on a pretty regular basis?
Oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad
Yeah,
and tax law podcasts.
tax law. I don't know a lot about that, man. I need to study up on some tax law stuff because there has got to be some ins and outs. I want to be one of those companies that doesn't owe taxes because that sucks. But so a lot of us, we worry about the future, and you alluded to it. Scared money don't make money. And so we tend to, especially in times like this, I've seen it bite people in the ass a million times already, and probably not a million, but a lot more than I'm used to seeing. And that's kind of holding on to your money and only buying what you need to get by. Primarily, I'm talking about film, tools, things of that nature. I see people like mistakenly just ship their bulldozer in a car. Customer's not really interested in coming back with the bulldozer. Or sometimes the tinner's not really keen on calling the customer asking for their bulldozer back, but you don't have a spare. Um, we don't necessarily only keep spare stuff because it'll wear out or break, although sometimes that does happen too. And one thing that I don't really talk about a lot that I do that has saved my bacon way more times than I can count is I pretty much have a spare everything. I've got a spare keg. I've got spare O rings. I got spare parts. I got spare squeegee handles. I got spare squeegees. I keep a hard card sharpener. I keep spare triangle tools, reach tools, back window tools, the whole gauntlet. Things that I don't use and some that I do. And one thing that I absolutely do, a lot of people um some people scoff at me for it and some people don't, and that's that when I have to break into a spare, the one that I'm replacing with it, say for instance I get a nick in my squeegee blade and I ain't got time to deal with a hard card sharpener and all that, I'll grab a squeegee blade. I put my old one in the place of the one that I just replaced. Not because I'm going to go back and use that at some point, but sometimes you ship your squeegee with a customer's car. And it'd be nice to be able to have that, even though it's a less than ideal one, until I can replace it. And then once a week or even every 2 weeks, you can do an inventory on your stuff, what needs to be replaced, and then make a actually invasion. I do have a spare Jeep, but we wasn't going to try to talk about that today. We're talking about other spare things. I have lots of spare parts for my Jeep. Not the entire Jeep, but lots of spare parts. Ask Alex, he'll tell you. I buy lots of parts and parts that I don't put on because they're spares. But no, so squeegees and the whole 9 yards. And right now, things are a little funny with like window film supplies. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Sometimes you order and it's there like the next day, and other times you order and 2, 3, 4, 5 days later it shows up. And we're learning that with supply too. Like for 2 weeks, I've had 80 kegs on order. Well, in 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, I only needed 80 kegs, and that was going to keep me looking pretty good in my stockpile. Well, now I'm pretty low on kegs, and I called them up, and they said, "Well, good news, your kegs are actually just getting ready to ship." And I'm like, "That's great news, except for it's not gonna be enough." So I had to add 80 more to it because I need to have enough. Because if I just do enough to get by, especially in today's time, what normally was plenty of time to work it out, depending on what the supply chain is doing, might not be. So, like when it comes to window film, have a spare roll. And I'm not saying if you use, a 36 and a 24 to have a spare of each, but have a spare 36 sitting back. Because that way, if you run out of your 24 and you go to order and for whatever reason there's a hang up and it doesn't come in right away, then you have another one. Have an extra 36 because same thing with the 36. It runs low, you got to order another one and it ain't available right away, but you have a backup. This week, because of hiccups in the system, I've seen multiple people that because normally they get their products next day from me, I've seen multiple people put themselves in a bad position because, well, one guy at 3:30 on Thursday, he calls us and says, "Hey, I need this, 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 and this." And we're like, "Okay, no problem." We go look at the shelf and, oh God, one of the rolls isn't there. And not thinking much of it, we just went ahead and had Avery drop ship everything. Well, Avery's really busy this time of year. And so they didn't get it out Thursday. They got it out Friday. But that means he's not getting it until Monday. And he was counting on it because he absolutely needed it for the weekend. That's a problem. Don't do that because he put himself in a position to have to figure out how to get through his weekend without film that he absolutely needed. Now, like I said, normally he orders from us even at 3:30, he'll get it the next day. But if we count on that right now with the supply chain issues that are going on, we have no idea what we're counting on. I mean, the good news is the film was available and Monday he got his film. The bad news is he had to jump through hoops and talk customers into upgrading and even do some free upgrades so he didn't lose customers over the course of the weekend because he felt that he didn't need to keep a spare on his shelf. And how much money would that have saved him? So that's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And I saw Matt make a post earlier. That's part one. That's part A of our topic tonight. Part B is, are you going broke saving money? And this is a bold topic. And I happen to agree with him 100%. And I'll stand behind it and try to explain it the best that I can. What's up, Larry? But are you going broke by trying to save money? So many of us, because we sit so close to the edge, we look at the cost of, let's say, window film. Now, sometimes we'll go by, and I'll pick on Lexan because it's one of the cheapest brands out there. They don't have a really easy film to work with, but it's usable. It doesn't have a ton of longevity, but it lasts long enough to get most customers through the period of time they're going to own that car. So if we use Lexan, most of us aren't going to have a problem. Here comes the problem that we don't even know that we have. We use a product like Lexan. We know that it's dirt cheap. We know that it doesn't stand up to things like, well, Helios. I'll throw that out there because I might as well get a shameless plug. But, GeoShield, Expel, Lumar, so you don't feel like automatically I'm using Lexan, so I can't price against a shop that's using Expel because they're using a much more expensive film. I have to be cheaper than them. But the thing is, in the dollars that you're saving per roll of film, and I'm going to make a bold statement, Out of every 40-inch roll of film, you can get 10 full cars. So on a 40-inch roll of Lexan, I believe you can get it for about $160, which is fucking ridiculous. But you can get a 40-inch roll of Helios Orbit, which I can guarantee you can stand behind, puff out your chest, and tell people you got the best fucking film on the market for 200 and what, $10 or something? I don't know, something
like that.
Alex is going to look, because I don't even know. We got so many SKUs. I don't know what the prices are off the top of my head. But what I do know,
40 by 100 Orbit.
Yeah. And so you're going to get 10 full cars out of a 40-inch roll. And I've proved holy shit. So you're talking a $35 difference. That's $3.50 a car. Now for Orbit right now, we're getting $280 for a complete. $280 for a complete. We're spending $195 on it. And it's getting us 10 cars. But see, $285, a guy with Lexan's like, I can't do that. I can't. No, it's Lexan. I can get $160. 10 cars, $160. Let's do a little bit of math real quick. Okay, I can't bring up the calculator because I don't know how, but I can bring it up for me just real quick. So what we'll do is we're going to go $280 times 10 is $2,800 minus 195 is $2,605 profit on one roll of Helios Orbit. But now I'm going to save money. I can't afford Helios Orbit. So I'm going to go ahead and buy $160 roll of Lexan. And on that $160 roll of Lexan, I'm only going to be able to get $160 a car. That's $1,600. So on $1,600, I'm going to take $160 away, and I'm going to make $1,440 on that. But the problem is, on the same amount of work, and let's pretend that I can tin a car just as fast with Lexan as I can with Orbit, which I can't. But let's pretend I could. So we'll say the same amount of product, the same number of cars, the same amount of time. I can either make $1,400 or I can make $2,600. So the pennies that we're saving on film is actually going to cost us $1,200 per roll out of our pocket because we wanted to save $35. You see what I'm saying? And that's a hard one to wrap your head around and see. But trust me, if you have the confidence in yourself, when I went to work for myself in 2011, our industry here in Southeast Michigan was $165 for a complete. It didn't matter if you used 3M or, well, let's say Lexan. It didn't matter what you used. $165 was what you was getting full retail. But see, we started something. We started a tint wholesale business to help all the shops in town that wanted to sell tint but couldn't afford to pay a tinner. Because let's face it, if you have a glass shop and your customers want window tint, so you want to be a tint shop also, but you're only capable of selling $30,000, maybe $40,000 a year in tint, you couldn't possibly hire a tinner and make it make sense for your business. So that was our design. We decided we're going to go ahead and get a few tinners together, and a few of these shops like this, accessory shops, detail shops, glass shops, stereo shops, all these different shops. And we had by 2017, we had about 16 of them under our belt. We had 5 tenors. We were doing about 6,000 cars a year. In Southeast Michigan, we made a name for ourselves. Now, think about this, though. At $165 a car retail, there was no way that we could do this and everybody make money, right? So we had no choice but to buck up. And so these shops that normally wasn't a tint shop, they weren't known for window tint because they never did window tint. We slide in and start selling tint for them, and we tell them, look, you got to get 199 because we're going to get 165 from you, and that's going to be your profit margin, but we're going to work this out. And so we did. And over the course of time, what ended up happening by 2017 is the industry was at 219 in Southeast Michigan. And I'm not talking just my accounts. All the other shops around us were noticing that we're busy because all my stores, they could book for a day. They couldn't book for all week long because they didn't have enough work for that. And we needed to be efficient. So say this store got Monday. So every Monday, all these surrounding tint shops would see this store just tinting the shit out of some cars. And we were tinting them at 220 a car. And they're still tinting for 165 a car. Next thing you know, the standard goes up. Nobody's racing for the bottom no more. They're not competing with price because all of a sudden people started realizing that price isn't what sells window film. Pride and confidence and assurity is what sells window film. Warranty sells window film. Experience sells window film. So if you have all those things, you can tell the customer exactly what you want. Now, fast forward an additional 5 years, and here we are in 2022. And like I said, we're at $280. Here's the kicker. We got rid of the whole wholesale thing. We kept one account. So on Fridays, we go to this one account and take care of his customers. He sells about $50,000 a year in window film. I don't know how much of it he gives us, but my guess is it's about 35,000. So it's definitely worth us to close the shop one day a week for $35,000 anyways. And from there, we just focus on our little bubble. And what we found out, because periodically about once a year, we call around to all the other shops and find out what they're charging for this and that. And at $280 a car, we're the cheap guy in the market. We created a trend in Southeast Michigan by doing something that nobody thought you could do. And we took basically a no-name film. We did this with Anita Tech window film, which is now Avery Dennison. But nobody knew what Anita was. But I knew it was a good film. I knew I absolutely loved working with it, and I knew it was going to last. So I started using it, and we told them what the price needed to be, and they didn't have an option. You can either sell what you can and we'll just deal with it, or you won't sell anything and we'll go to somewhere else. And guess what? They sold film, they made money, they raised the market, and now we realize that we don't need to save money. We can buy whatever it is we need to buy, spend what we need to spend. Why do you think that if you go to sundistributingdirect.com, if you go look at my tool section, you don't see any Chinese knockoffs in my tools? There's good reason for that. Because we don't have to save money and buy the cheap Alibaba bullshit that's trying to put our American industries out of business, because we get to set the price and our own standards on what we're selling. And with the same, in case you're like, well, I'm new at it and I'm not sure. My wife, who has been tinting flat glass for less than a year for sure. I don't know. Alex, do you remember when I decided I was no longer doing their flat glass?
I don't know. Not
It was only a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, 3-4 months top.
Yeah, probably about 3 months. So my wife just went out and she's almost done with a $6,000 install by herself. Why? Mainly because she knew that when she sold it for me to go do it, she had the will, the confidence, and the knowledge that she could say what she wanted to get for that job with a straight face and not try to think about what it would be worth to her. You know, one thing that we can't do is when we're selling a job, let our idea of what a good budget is dictate what we can sell. Because our customer, might have more money than they know what to do with. And if we look like that's expensive for us, he's going to feel like that's expensive. So, yeah, like I said, she just landed a $6,000 flat glass job herself. And my hat's off to her. And I asked her, I says, are you going to hire so and so to come in and do it? And she says, no, I'm going to do it. I'm like, wow, look at that. So I don't know. It's totally possible. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate, but if you're running around and you got less than $1,000 in your pocket, um, then and you're a window tinner tinning for yourself, ask yourself why. Because if you're hustling and busting ass, you should be doing better than that. If you're hustling and busting ass and you got more money than you know what to do with, you're probably right there with me. Now I'm not tinting windows, hustling and busting ass, and I don't have more than $1,000 in my pocket because most of you know I bought a Jeep, and that was dumb, but it's a lot of fun. So there is nothing investment related with that Jeep, but it is a lot of fun. Scott says I had a customer come in with some film he ordered from a place in Brooklyn. He asked how much to install it. I told him $250, no warranty, pre-cut Avery film, Toyota Corolla. Why so expensive? Because that's my price. Absolutely, Scott. We don't owe the customer explanation. Now, me personally, I would at least explain to the customer that the film is just plastic and what you pay for is the ability to do it and make you want to keep it. Because anybody can put plastic on windows, but only a select few of us can put plastic on windows and make you want it for the rest of your time you own the car. You know, there's a lot of shops out there that slap plastic on windows that most people are not happy with. So why $250? I also tell people sometimes if I feel like being cute, I tell them I do this for a career, not beer money for the weekend. Because a lot of people can relate to that. You know, I'm not out here on a daily hustle. This is what I do for a living. So, oh, Scott says took 45 minutes. He was very impressed. So it sounds to me like the guy didn't walk just because he balked. I like that. That's, you know, that's the other thing. Confidence, our lack of confidence will keep us from getting a sale we would have got because we see a customer flinch. You know, customers, a lot of times when they walk in the door, they don't know what we do. You know, just like I always tell people, a lot of times I tell people when you build a brand new tint shop, you got to give the customer something to talk about when they leave. And a lot of us are really arrogant and think that the world revolves around us and knows what we know. And they're like, well, yeah, but I do the best job in town. Well, good for you. But the customer's ignorant. They don't know that some people don't do the best job in town. They walked into your shop expecting the best job in town, and they don't even know that there's a such thing as best. They expect perfection. And when they don't get perfection, then you have to explain to them this and that and the other thing. So you don't have to do that. At best, doing it that way, a customer walks into your shop, you charge them, tint their windows, and it was beautiful. And they got exactly what they expected. Nothing to talk about here. So they leave and they keep their wonderful experience to themselves because there was nothing special about it. So throw in something special about it, entertain them. You know, Scott Littler tinted a guy's car in 45 minutes for $250 with no out of pocket cost. And the customer was impressed. Why? Because you gave him something he didn't expect. Because one thing customers have a lot of experience with is you got to drop it off for the day. Or some people, we have customers like, am I going to be able to get it back the same day? So efficiency is good. Try to set a window aside for the customer so that you know you can give them a set time that they can have their car back by to minimize their lack of having the car. But the other thing is, if a customer has to wait, I see so many people put up folding chairs. If a customer wants to wait, I'm not trying to make them comfortable because I'm not inviting them to wait. Customers, there is no customer in the world that wants to go take their car to a shop and wait for it to be worked on. So rest assured, if your customer has to wait for the vehicle, it's because they don't have other options. So they expect a hard chair and an uncomfortable waiting area. And that's why they don't want to drop it off. But if you gave them a nice cushy leather sofa, a 55-inch TV, a refrigerator full of soda, juice, water, and a full stocked
No, David, we can see you. I seen the
yeah,
video.
I'm
It looks
talking.
cool.
Stop interrupting. But so, we got a fully stocked um coffee bar, and at every seat there's a phone charger and a multi-cord that'll fit anybody's phone. And guess what? That's the biggest thing people talk about is our waiting area. Oh yeah,
And you
and
know,
snacks.
and you know what? That coincides with the whole is saving money making you broke? Like you're gonna have to pay taxes at the end of the year. Why don't you invest in your company and lessen the amount of taxes that you're gonna have to pay later? Like you probably save more by spending it than you do, and then that's an investment for future things. That's what they call building up opportunity costs. You're building
Yes.
yourself more opportunities in the future. Cheaping out loses opportunity cost because you're making yourself less money that you can use to reinvest, or you're locking up time you could have used to spend that somewhere else that you could have made more money somewhere else. That goes with what Scott Littler said about staying firm with this 250 on that pre-cut install. Like, why not cheaper? Because you're gonna destroy your own opportunities. Also, David Weimer, great video.
I
Is
didn't
that
get
is
to
that
see it because my computer says that another app is controlling my audio, so it won't
um
play.
open it with Window Media Player. It seemed to work that way.
Oh, it's one of those GP files. Okay, that's why. Open with Window Media Player.
I want to use David Weimer as my guinea pig. He asked earlier, how do I get one out of one of these slow spells or whatever? I think if you presented yourself a little bit better and made yourself known to your community, you might get more jobs. And I'm a graphic design student right now. Uh, Maybe I'll make David some business cards and a logo and like spiff his shit up. I'll help you, David.
David, what are you
Uh,
using for a editor? Because your idea on that is on point. And I'm not sure if it, because obviously you can only send so big of a file, so it had to get reduced down pretty hard to send here. But oh, a buddy of yours made it. So I like the editing; it was on point. I think that there's definitely, if you watch it a few times and then watch a few other people's promo videos, you'll get an idea of some adjustments you could make with subtleties and everything. But definitely things like that, and just keep posting them. I mean, that's entertaining. And what I like about it is the fact that it doesn't focus a long time on one particular thing that you're doing. And unlike what we do here, because we're pretty static, so you watch the same us the whole time. To keep your customers engaged, you want to have a lot of things changing. You want to have reasons for their eye to stay focused, and you had that going on in there. um Aside from that, I think do that and post it when you see a job. Hey, look at what I did today. Boom, there's the post, and people watch it. And So yeah, for sure. I blew it up and it was all blurry for me, but again, I understand when you're texting something, the interwebs only allows you to text so big of a something. And so when I try to make it full screen so my old ass can see it, it gets all fuzzy.
Uh, I don't want to take business away from Carrie, but regardless, hit me up later today, or I'll hit you up after work. We'll figure something out.
And it's not taking business away from Carrie if, Carrie's a busy girl. He, he is, well, let's just say she's doing well. She used to, I got a hold of Carrie when she was still a student, and it was so cool because in the beginning, I would say I wanted this, and she would be working on it right away. Fast forward 3, 4 years, almost 5 years. Damn. Fast forward all this time, and now I say I want something, and she's like, I'll see what I can do, but check with me next month. And it's like, next month? Are you freaking kidding me? But no, Carrie's a busy, busy girl, and she's fantastic with her work. I think the cool thing about Alex is he's familiar with his work, and he's got his own imagination, and his imagination's like pretty wild also, and he's learning his own things, and some of what he does is like really, really sweet. But it's one thing you're not going to see is you're not going to see Alex produce something that looks like Carrie's. You won't see Carrie produce something that looks like Alex's. That's the neat thing about artists and aspiring artists is they got their own flair. But Brendan, you are not late. You are here, and we are here. So therefore, you're not late.
Let me see.
He also has a pretty good understanding with F me. F you too. Ha! Um, it's the mushrooms, Alex. Alex doesn't eat the mushrooms, he just grows them.
Man, I I grow prize winners.
So, guys, I did a thing yesterday. Alex did a thing yesterday too. Alex, you want to tell him what you did?
I
Or
took
what you didn't do?
I took a train out of Chicago at 6 in the morning Chicago time, thinking that somehow I was only going to be a couple hours late to work, but it turned out to be a lot more than a couple hours late to work, and
What time did you get to work yesterday, Alex?
like almost 3:30 on the
Oh wow,
busiest
that
day of the
was
week.
on the busy. Yeah, that was pretty like wow. I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty wow anyway. I was making up words all day long, and
yeah, it was not a
yeah,
good move.
was not happy with you. But the good news is what I had wanted to do ended up working out anyways. I mean, I was doing it all the way up until I was doing it all the way up until 8 o'clock last night, but I did manage to get it done. So I no longer have a Kia Telluride. So there's that. But I I went and did this thing, and this is my new car. So
Look, your new car's bigger than Ryan's car.
God damn right. But I actually went to buy a Dodge Ram, but this thing kept screaming at me across the lot. And finally I made her go get the keys um, so that I could drive it. And I did. And driving it, I told her I'm buying this one. So I did. Yeah. So yeah, I got me a new something that I can pull a trailer and haul my Jeep. I have finally conceded to the idea that my Jeep is the truck is mine, Lobo. The rape van's Ryan's. But yeah, so I bought the oh, damn it. I'm messing everything up here. So I bought the truck because the Jeep, I finally conceded to the idea that it's a trailer queen. I should not be driving it around. The only time it gives me problems now is when I spend too much time driving it on the street. You know, it's got 40-inch tires, it's got about 14 inches of lift. It's ridiculous. And yeah, it's a Silverado. And it's it's a Black Widow edition, which I don't know exactly know what it means, but it's got all kinds of sweet ass performance stuff on it that was like factory done. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's got a 6.2 liter. I think it's a LS3. Um, and when you step the gas pedal all the way to the floor, it makes these sweet noises that it just makes me feel real good inside. So, although it makes the gas gauge move too, so I might not do that as much. Although speaking of gas gauges, gas prices are going down. Has anybody noticed that? I don't want to say that too loud because I don't want it to stop, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Does anyone know who to get in contact with if your post gets declined on the Window Tint Facebook group?
So
Depends
the
on which group.
it's window tint stuff. So they have um they have the robot AI running things to a point, and I think you have to have 10 characters in your post that you wrote. So if you like repost something or just share something in there and you don't write anything with it, it gets auto declined. It has nothing to do with the moderators. And so when you share something in there, you got to make sure you type at least 10 characters. Aside from that, any one of the mods in there can kind of help you figure out what's wrong with something you posted if there was something wrong with it. But 9 times out of the 10, if it doesn't get approved, it's because it didn't have any typed characters with it. And that's just a little bit of a hiccup because obviously if you share something and there's a heading and stuff on there, then it's got characters, but it needs you to have typed something. So there's
Oh,
that.
T Town says all posts have to be approved now, which I get why. I see
Yeah.
some
Well,
groups.
actually, Matt was telling me about it, and he said that all posts, everybody has to get approved for at least one post. And then that poster can post freely after they're approved once. And that keeps the spam from happening because these spam posts with the nudity and stuff, they're just they were just outrunning the moderators. And then he discovered this feature, and so he turned that on. So the very next post that I made, I had to get approved. And as far as I know, I no longer have to get approved. The good news is he's got a great team of moderators, and they're pretty on top of it.
Mm.
Now, Invasion, did you type the paragraph of text, or was it part of the post? Was it like you shared something, or how did that work? And was it nudity? Because they don't approve those. I'm joking. Was it? Oh, no.
Hmm.
If you don't have a profile pic, it'll auto decline. Oh. Yeah, that's interesting. You can chances are Matt didn't do it, especially if it was like during the day today, because Matt should be done with his class today, but Matt has this week is Matt's class, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so he's busy all day. So I could tell you he's not moderating. Um Maybe Tim can look into it. He's one of the moderators there, but
Weimer's also a moderator.
oh, okay. T Town Tim says we have to approve all posts now. I wonder what happened. David says that if you repost it, he'll keep an eye out for it.
It was Invasion tinning naked.
With his free prizes. Hey, you know, there's that one girl that was making videos and she was making clothing out of window tint. I'm not sure if that's because she was just seeking attention or what, but you know. What was the post about, Invasion? And the name that posted it. Sounds like Tim's going to do a little research and see if he can't find something. But if you deleted it, then I'm guessing it might not be findable. But I don't know a lot about this moderating stuff because I ain't got time for that.
Because there was inappropriate things, Scott. It was bad.
Yeah, Scott. You got spam bots going in there posting butt sex and stuff. That's no good. So
And
they had to
animal
make it
PPs.
an animal peepees.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech. Yeah, some of the stuff they're trying to figure out how to not get posted isn't speech, Scott.
You
It's
know, and it was
porn.
like it's funny because I like came across a post where a guy was like, "What the hell, man? Like I was on the couch with my family, like kids and wife, watching cartoons, and here's a girl doing inappropriate things right on my wall." You know, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And then it happened to me like I'm in a public area, like in line at some government building just flipping, you know, and then here's this big old dog dong right on my thing and I'm like, "Oh, that's really awesome." And then I like quick scroll down and then there's another one and I quick scroll down some more and then there's another one and it was like yeah, it was a lot. And I'm just over here doing God's work by reporting it to the admins. Yeah.
Is that what God told you to do?
I don't know.
Me either. That's fantastic.
Oh, see, I gotta use hand sanitizer now. I feel disgusting.
Well, after that long train ride yesterday, you should feel disgusting.
And it's funny because like it wasn't like the same person posting it over and over. It's clearly a fake name, and then all the other ones were like totally different people. Like they were expecting to get like reported and banned. So they just had to come in with like numbers of more fake accounts. It's like that whole Twitter thing going on.
Yeah, and it's like honestly moderators do a great job, but you got to understand when you've got 50, 60,000 people in a group, sometimes they can flood it so fast and so hard that it's impossible for everyone to see everything. So a lot of it slips by the moderator until it gets reported. But like I said, they figured out that they have the ability to do a everybody has to get approved once thing, and then once you're approved, then you're considered trusted, I guess you could say. So yeah. But Invasion, we all want to know what it was about.
Lobo, dog, the government building, and Facebook put it all over your page. They knew exactly what I was looking for.
Sometimes, a lot of people are like, oh, Big Brother's listening, it's terrible and everything. But to be honest with you, I'm one of those guys that actually appreciates that because there's nothing I can do about them listening. Whatever, they're gonna. I like the fact that things that I talk about, because things that I talk about are things that I'm interested in. And then I'll go on Facebook and I see ads for them. And so I can look at different things of those things. Like right now, I talk a lot about Jeep parts. So guess what comes down my Facebook wall? And different tools for different things. And guess what comes down my Facebook wall? So it's kind of good on my end. Hey, what's up, Corey?
What's up? Speaking of Corey, I got some exciting news. Scott, it was good seeing you, my guy. Good luck on that Escalade. Good news. Rick, did you see the things that is happening with Window Film Revolution? Did you see that
I
post
saw
today?
I no, today I was kind of busy.
Oh, so we all know that there's a singles competition, right? First place for hopefully $15,000. Second place for $5,000. Third place for $3,000, and then we all know fourth through 10th runner-ups get $1,000.
What if you're not
Well,
single?
you better lose the partner.
Uh-oh.
But okay, so last week during the tank giveaway on Thursday, it was announced that first place singles comp, not only do you win $15,000 cash, but you're also gonna go home with a 2022 Honda Pioneer 750. So the side by side. Um, and then today it was announced second place is not only going home with cash, but they're also going home with a 2022 Sea-Doo Spark 2 Up Road Tax 900 Ace Edition with a trailer.
Nobody wants a jet ski. And
Well,
I'm sure they don't want a side by side. But I tell you what, if you win the side by side, I'll take you out four wheel and you can follow me around in the trails. It'll be great. Or I'll follow you. But it'd be better if you follow me because a lot of times side by sides can go in places that my Jeep can't go. So if I'm following you, you might lose me. If you're following me, you'll probably keep up.
and then I
Because
heard that the third place winner is also going to get cash and a new also prize that hasn't been announced yet, and I'm really curious to see what that prize is going to be. But dude, that's wild. And
so
then, huh?
in case everybody's wondering, this whole window film revolution thing, there has been a lot of discrepancy in the past because Rick Tallman was the first person in the industry to have a Facebook group and decide he's going to charge people to be sponsors and make them pay money. And we pay money and donate. But I'll tell you, I was one of those scoffers. On year one, when I was invited in, I kind of chuckled and said, no, I'll pass. And I watched a lot of people sponsors do well, but what got my attention was the fact that they did so many giveaways, and it's hard to do the math in your head, But from what I saw, everything that they brought in, they gave away. What I found out this year is not only do they give away everything that they bring in, but they give away more. Some of them are actually putting money out of their own pockets to make things happen because they felt just short on the goal. And as you can see, by giving away a new car, giving away a side by side, giving away a jet ski, they've got big ideas. And just know that if you support WFR, you're not supporting anybody's pocketbook. You're supporting a cause. And I can tell you that in the past, I was very skeptical about this group, but seeing what they're doing, the proof is in the pudding, and what they're doing, like it or not, it's real. They're giving back, and that's huge. That is just something that's just something that earns respect. I mean, they're certainly in a position where, like, Rick Tallman would not have to tint windows. He could write himself a decent paycheck every week just to be the owner of this group. But he doesn't do that. He tints windows and he works and he makes his own paycheck. And all the money that the group generates, he gives back to the industry. So tell me how huge that is.
Invasion, good question. How do you enter those giveaways? If you're not already a member on Facebook, search up Window Film Revolution and join the group. Sometime today, if it hasn't already happened, or yesterday. Let me see if I
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
I think it already happened.
Yeah, so 21 hours ago, you'll see in the featured post, the second one, posted by Robbie Kronberger. It'll have giveaway details, and you just go on that post. It says to win, enter on here or go to my live video and tell me how this tank could help you grow. It's a bonus if you do use Solar FX. But yeah, there's also a tool giveaway, and then they're also giving away a true spray system. So there's 3 prizes this week for that giveaway. So just go on there, make a post on that post, and you're entered. Tune in there Thursday 8 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see a notification pop up, Window Film Revolution going live, or somebody going live, and you just click on there and bam, easy peasy. But yeah, all good stuff. Last week it was Corey, Case, and I. Carlos. Yeah, so I'm going to family reunion this year. It's October 3rd through the 5th, and I'm going to see what I can do to get some Helios down there and have people try it out. I think people who haven't tried it out yet should definitely try it out. So yeah, I might try to bring some down there with me. I don't know. I'm actually thinking about having the wife rent a car, like an SUV or something. I want to bring my dog.
Oh, you want to take my truck?
I can't drive.
Well, good. I wasn't going to let you take my truck anyways. I just wondered if you wanted to. But so getting Helios down there might be a little bit of a rub. Not sure. I have to talk to Rick about that because Sun Distributing and Tint Keg are both sponsors, but Helios is not a sponsor. So there would need to be quite a few people in the group that are sponsors okay with that. And I don't think I would blame them if they weren't okay with it because they're paying sponsors and Helios isn't. But you will notice that each entity, even if it's a single owner, each entity is a paid sponsor. So like with Autobahn, you got Autobahn, you've got Edge, you've got more. I can't Hooper Optic. I'm like, damn, I know there's a few of them that are all the same owner, but different companies or different entities. So they're all Helios is good. Helios is fantastic. You know, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it, even if it wears some of you guys out. But you know, I'm not ashamed to say that Helios is a reboxed film. There's and Billy, he's a guy that has way too much knowledge about the film industry and who makes what and all this. But the reality is a lot of your films out there are reboxed films, and those companies don't want you to know that. And I'm not ashamed to tell you that because you know you can look at it both ways, kind of like half glass full, glass half empty kind of thing. You know, how are you going to look at reboxed film? Some people are like Reeboks film is just a cop out as somebody who can't make their own film. Well, I guess to a point that's true because I don't have the budget to make my own film. But with 35 years in the industry and knowing what's good and what's bad and what's what in film, I know what I would use, what I would stand behind, and what I would want in my own lineup. So I get to go shopping. And being a Reeboxer, I don't have to stick to one manufacturer's lineup because what I found is there's not a manufacturer out there that has a full lineup that suits my needs. So I've got a couple manufacturers that I buy film from because one manufacturer makes the best dyed film that I can find on the market. And they'll make it and sell it to me in a white box and let me put it in a Helios box and I can stand behind it. And I know exactly what it is. And so therefore I don't have a problem giving you a lifetime warranty on it and knowing that I'm going to stand behind it. But then this company doesn't make a carbon film or well, actually they do make a ceramic film, but I don't like their ceramic film either. Don't get me wrong. Their ceramic film numbers are phenomenal. The clarity, not as much. One problem with ceramic and carbon or any kind of a nano film is low angle haze. Well, I went straight to the pioneer of nanoparticle film and I bought not their best because unfortunately their best, they call it their best based on performance numbers. But the problem is if your performance numbers get too high, then your haze goes up. And so I've got something that tops out at roughly 84% IR rejection with a 67% total solar energy rejection, which in any climate is phenomenal. It doesn't need to be more than that. It's very noticeably good stuff. And when the sun beats on it, it's clear. You see no low angle haze. It's just not there. Not in the carbon, not in the ceramic. It's fantastic. Heck, the IR rejection on the ceramic or on the carbon is nearly 80%. And what a lot of people don't realize is just how much influence the total solar energy rejection has because the total solar energy rejection is a bit lower on the carbon. And so it's a noticeable difference between the carbon and ceramic, but it's still a huge difference between the carbon and the dyed, where the dyed, you would think that there's no heat rejection, even though the dyed has a pretty decent heat rejection for back in the day numbers. But so that's the cool thing about being a reboxer. And one thing that I don't do, as you guys see, I don't spare any expense when it comes to what I do to get your guys' attention. I also don't spare any expense on the film that I buy to put in my boxes. And I know if you go look at like a 40-inch roll of Helios Orbit, $195, that's fucking insane. Why? Because I have competitors that sell exactly the same film in their box for $260 a roll. The exact same film. So why am I so cheap? What is I mean, what you're talking to us about saving money and going broke when here you are lowballing your film. Well, here's the thing. My competitors that have the same film in their boxes, their their business is film. My business is tools. You don't have to buy my Helios film. And if nobody buys my Helios film, I still do well. Why? Because when you look at my tool lineup, you know where to go to buy tools because my prices are spot on. My customer service is second to none. And I'm willing to bend over backwards to do right to you. And so my customers keep coming back. You know, we've had our system up for a year. Um, Actually, a year in, let's see, was it April, May, June, July? So a year and 3 months, 15 months, our system's been up. And I just got an email from my system congratulating me for 10,000 orders. And those aren't film orders. I don't sell a ton of film, but I sell a ton of what you guys need. And if you need film, I got you. You know, it's like Avery Dennison. There's a lot of people talk good and bad about Avery Dennison, but I'll tell you, Avery Dennison NR Pro is second to none. When it comes to it's not a dyed film, it's not a nano film, it's a hybrid dyed nano film. When you put it on the glass, it looks like glass. You can't even tell it's a film unless, of course, you're a shitty tinner. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, but you put it on glass and it looks like glass. It doesn't, you know, and for those of you that have been tinting for a while, you know what I'm talking about. When you tint a window, you can look at it and you can tell it's not factory tint. It's aftermarket film. And with Avery, you've got to look close. You've got to look for edges because it's clean. And so I don't know. The reason I carry the films that I carry is because they're the films that I can stand behind. And with 35 years of experience, and my biggest give a shit is you guys, not me. That should mean something. And honestly, I give more shit about you guys than I do about me because the more shit I give about you, is that right? Am I saying that right? I give a shit the more shit I give. Anyway, the more I concern myself with you guys, the the more I get taken care of anyways. And my Avery rep was in here today and he told me that's called karma, Rick. And I'm like, okay, karma. It's karma. I got good karma because I don't worry about me anymore. Something else bigger than me worries about me, and that's good enough. Billy wants in. Should we let him in? What do you think, Alex? Does Billy have
Yeah,
something to
let him
offer?
in. I got a bathroom break, anyways.
Hey, Billy, real quick, just to make life easy for me, um, text this number, Billy, real quick. I don't care what you text. Text all thumbs. Nope. Problem, Jaybird. Yeah, we've been giving away free keychains too. We've got no karma. Reap what you sow. That is absolutely correct. And you do. Whatever you give out, you get back. Period. What's up, Trace? Hey, Trace. Sorry about the confusion with the Avery film. Trace messaged me in a panic. I'm thinking it was the first time he saw this, but he pulled out some Avery film and there was numbers on it. And he sent me a picture and he's like, "Dude, this isn't good." And then he sent me another message and he says, "LOL." Um, he says that Avery film was awesome. Isn't it wonderful to work with? Oh my God, I love it. But yeah, he sent me another message and he's like, "LOL." I thought it was printed on the film. It was printed on the liner. But Avery does that on their long rolls. On one side of their long roll, they'll print basically a countdown from 100 to 0 to um, to kind of alert you as to how much is left on your roll. The problem is, they make these rolls in 60 and 72 inch, and then they cut them down from there. So depending on which half of the cut down size, so if you order a 36 inch, chances are they cut a 72 in half, which would mean that one of those 36 inches has the numbers and one of them don't. So not every roll has them, but I can guarantee every 60 inch and every 72 inch roll has them. I believe every 48 inch roll has them also. So it's the 36s that may not have them. And then on the automotive film, it's going to be a toss up because they cut those down from 60s, and they cut 40s, 36s, 24s, and 20s. So just depending on where the number lands determines which roll is going to have it on it. But yeah, did you message Billy?
Me?
No, Billy.
Oh.
Look, did he? He did not. Billy, I can't send you a link. I'm trying to run a live here and send a message to 248-209-6724, and I will send you a link, because that's how we roll. Let me see if you're in here. Oh, I found you, Billy. You know what? Make me do all the work. There, Billy. There, Billy. You has a new link. Billy's going to educate us on the things. Rick, did you ever think of doing live streams twice a week? Right now, this time of year, sometimes it's hard to work in once a week. To be honest with you, we were thinking. I don't know how you guys would feel about this, but we were thinking about possibly um, recording our day to day. So I don't know if that's something you guys would be interested in, just watching us and hanging out with us, filling orders and talking shit to each other, because behind the scenes sometimes, I don't know, I think we're hilarious. Well, I think Alex and Ryan are hilarious. Me, I try to remain serious the whole time, but
Billy is here.
Hi, guys.
Billy is here. What's
Hey,
up, Billy?
You're talking about Avery.
We are.
It's a beautiful film, you guys. I mean, the numbers, what we used to call it here was our secret. Okay. And for a while we had it. Avery came here and there was a distributor that had it. And they have some of the best security films, exterior films that you can get your hands on. They can actually change the exterior color of your buildings. They have blue exterior, bronze exteriors. There's so many different things with that. And their automotive films. Now, there is a learning curve because it is a little bit different than your normal product. You know what I mean? I feel that there's a learning curve with a lot of different products. If you switch from Matico over to Lumar to
100%, yeah.
SolarGuard, and SolarGuard, all their, especially their commercial line, they're all PS adhesives. And if you're used to CDA adhesives, you're gonna find some changes for sure. You're like, wow, this is really tacky. What's going on?
I don't mess with PS adhesives and flat glass unless I have to. Like frost and blackout and things like that. You kind of have to, but I don't know if there's a dry adhesive option. That's where it's at.
Now, I've worked with a lot of the Avery products, and the only reason I don't carry them, honestly, is because, and I just found out some information that Tube Light carries Avery, and they spoke highly of you, by the way, Rick, because you are in because you guys are in the Avery family. I mean, which used to be known as Anita. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. But whenever it came out, you know, it had some of the best product. I mean, especially with their security films. And if you went into, especially, I mean, I'm not trying to sound anti-Semitic or anything, please, because you know how I say stuff and just comes out blunt. You go in there with that stuff to the Jewish community, and you let them know that you have security film. Pretty much every Jewish community around you wants security blast window film on their buildings. Every one of them. Their synagogues, their schools, every single one of them. I'm giving that out to you guys to let them know, because there is money available. They'll come all the way from Israel to make sure that that thing is bomb protected and sealed. But she'll be putting up some of the heavy duty stuff. Yeah, that's some money on the table for you guys. Just so you know. The film, but I don't know if it still has that same tone, because it's no longer, you know, Haneda. It's now Avery. But as far as I know, it's still manufactured. I don't know if the manufacturing plants have changed. I have not kept up, and that's what I would curious. I wanted to ask you: is it still the manufacturing still coming out of Israel? Is that where a lot of it's based out of?
100%. And actually, that's where some of the see when it was Haneda, like you said earlier, it was you guys called it your secret because Haneda didn't. They weren't well known, not here in America. Over in Europe and Israel, they're way well known, but that's where their manufacturing abilities were. And then Avery bought them out, and they still manufacture all 100% of the film out of the one facility. But people are learning about Avery Films here in the United States, and they're underestimating the size of the market here in the United States. And they're having a, you know, they're doing their projections, they're making a certain amount of this and then moving to that and then running out of this because they only projected like 30% increase from the previous year, and they're far exceeding that. So sometimes you'll order and it's like right now we have some films that are back ordered until the end of August, simply just because of under projections. You know, they didn't expect it to grow, but everybody that gets their hands on it, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing, because it's so easy to work with. It looks so crystal clean when you're done. And did I mention it's so easy to work with?
It is, but you do have to make sure, especially with their adhesive, to get all the water out. I like to
Yeah.
say, if you don't, the film could give you the measles, is the best way to say it. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I'm
had a
talking about?
customer. I had a customer with a lakefront house that I did in October last year, and he called me back out in February because one of his door walls still had a bubble in it. And in February, I wasn't able to make it out. Early March, I made it out, you know, and it's not a big deal. If it won't dry, it won't dry. But by the time I got out there, it was finally dry. And he's like, son of a bitch, I swear to God, just last week I looked at it, it was still there. And but yeah, Haneda film. The good news is it's not as thick as some of the films on the market,
Mhm.
but it's got such a heat rejection that it doesn't absorb enough heat to like dry the film with, you know,
Yes.
the sun is not as effective. So, and even obviously you know about it and you're in Arizona, and I thought your sun got to everything. So
Well, what I meant out here, we could actually have a steam measle thing situation. I didn't know if you had it up there. When the temperatures hit a certain air, actually they'll leave little tiny air blisters all over, and it has to do with just not getting
oh,
the pass, and you know, and doing it in direct sunlight, not getting it all passed out. But those were learning curves, like I was saying. So you learn to soap your water different, use different, you know, you call your manufacturer up and go, hey, what are they using? And then you call up your buddies and ask them what they're using. Your sales rep may not actually know, but you want to start calling people around you in your environment, because you know 2,000, you know 1,300 feet to 2,000 feet is different in how your water performs. To up to Denver, Colorado, we change products. We can't put the same film on here in Arizona as we do in Denver because of the glass breakage problems. You've got
Mhm.
very little atmosphere up that high up in the air. And that same thing comes with the automotive and how it affects your automotive and stuff like that. I mean, you know, your IR films up there are going to just, oh my God, they're going to work great out there. Where in Arizona, where you're getting temperatures at the 190-degree temperature on that, you're going, well, is it going to wick away? Well, it is a ceramic and it isn't aluminum. So you do have that, you know, that ceramic cup keeps your coffee warmer for a reason. It is an insulator
Yep.
too. So once that glass gets the temperature, your glass is going to actually get higher than your standard aluminum sputtered dyed product that we used to have in the 90s, which were very efficient, but they faded out. A lot of the adhesives had the dyes in them, and then pretty soon, next thing you know, you got splotching, you got just this metallized product behind it with no, or a purple metallized product, and everyone didn't like it. So those faded away.
Mhm.
We went in more of the carbons and stuff to those natures, and you know, the evolution into nano ceramics and stuff is just stacking, is what they're doing. You guys are stacking little tiny layers of film over and over and over again. And that's why you get so much of a haze. Think about every single little stack. And they're, you know, if they're not perfectly lined up, just they're gonna create certain hazes at certain low angle, especially the fatter your ceramic particle is, you know.
Yeah.
So this is construction stuff. This is why you go to the show, folks. So you can ask, you go to SEMA, ask the people, say, listen, what does it mean to be a nanoparticle? I mean, I would love to see someone to actually come in here and have one of the engineers go over what a nanoparticle is, because we know how to install film. But
Right.
whenever you go into a sales presentation, it would be nice to know how the film actually works, other than
Yeah,
it does
understanding
this.
a little bit about the
Yeah.
construction, especially when you're talking nanoparticles, because there is so much geometry involved with nanoparticles because you've got reflection and refraction. And what's going to happen is the light's going to hit one particle and reflect off of it and then bounce off another one. And it's kind of like having a layer of dust on your window, except for there's not a layer of dust, where another nanoparticle film isn't going to show that. And a lot of it has to do with the size of the nanoparticles, the shape of the nanoparticles. You know,
Yeah,
it's
a lot of people don't understand the difference between reflection and refraction. And the best way to explain it would be to stick a pencil in a glass. And you're going to see the pencil looks bent. That is
yes.
refraction,
Yep.
not reflection. Okay,
Yep.
so it changed the way that you see the you know, where you're seeing reflection, you're seeing a mirrored image. Where refraction, you're seeing an altered image, for just because the way our eyes are one of the only things that can be fooled so easily. You know, our
Which
taste
is,
can be fooled, but that's usually because of our eyes are letting us fool it.
yep. You take that same window while you see the haze on it and then cast a shadow over it. And where that shadow is, all of a sudden, there's no more illusion. You can see right through it because our eyes are trained to see past what's there and see the most color or the brightest object. And think of it like window perf. When you put window perf on a window that's printed, you see the image, but you don't see through it. And if you tint the window behind the perf, then the image gets brighter, more vibrant. Well, it's the same thing when the sun hits those nanoparticles. The sun makes the nanoparticles brighter, drawing your eyes to them so you can see them. And it does help to understand the technology behind it. I mean, it doesn't help to the extent that you have an explanation for a customer. Customer doesn't want to see that haze because a lot of times the customer doesn't understand the difference in performance and what they're gaining for their sacrifice.
You
But
know, I can't help. Go ahead.
that's why I picked the film that I picked, because I'm right at the edge of performance where everybody loves it. Is there better out there? Yeah, there's better performance out there. But if I go any higher with performance, then we start getting that glow. And
But you
your
also
typical
got to
customer
remember,
doesn't want to see that.
what I like about the Israeli mindset is, I'm not full aware of it, but I do understand certain things of their heritage. And that gives me grasp to understand that where window film come from is Mylar, the whole roots of it started with the NASA program and space program people.
Yeah.
We had to try to stop the electromagnetic waves and all with the radar, a lot of different things and lightning down planes, so much things that were going on involved with this. So it
Yeah.
is a
One
lot of these
second, Jaybird.
scientists were from are Jewish people. And the Germans knew this, and we saved them from Germany and brought them over. And after that, we had rockets and technology and all that stuff that von God, Einstein. Come on, it's there, you guys. All these numbers and stuff like that, they're coming from the Jewish people, so they have a certain intellect that's going to always be about discovery and making things better. So they're always going to be working for that mindset. As far as I'm concerned, that's the most important thing about a company when it comes is making sure that you're always looking for the best, to never being satisfied with the best. There's always going to be a better, and sometimes that better might not be better, but at least you went for that and said, hey, this didn't turn out that way, but we're trying. But it might have led, the light bulb was 1,000 mistakes, right? But it was the one that made it right. They talk about the guy that gives up this far away from gold, stops striking, and sells the mine to this other guy for nothing. And he goes chink, and a chunk of gold comes out of his hands. So
Mhm.
what one man's can be another man's fortune. Sorry about that. I get ADD. You guys know I'm trying to stay on the same subject
We,
here. So
we do got a couple of questions though. That one of them is Jaybird says, "What solution does Billy use for sticky film?"
right now it's humid, so this is causing our sticky to come up. And I'm like, in my brain, why would the sticky go up with humidity? The temperature is actually lower than what it is right now, but our water is more, well, there's more water in the air. So technically, is your solution dropped? I mean, the air and the water and the air and your water and your solution are so together. So whenever the humidity starts going up, you've got more water in the air versus whenever the humidity is so down, like here at 7%, we don't really need a whole lot of soap. But if it's hot, then that changes things because your evaporation starts kicking in. So it's all dependent on the climatic, and we need to get the manufacturers to start doing some R&D so we can actually tune it in to what a real surfactant level should be. And I know it's so personal. If I gotta have a little extra time to slide in. Honestly, you guys, don't be screwing around. Line it up and get it done. That's how we
Yeah,
usually
for
do it.
sure.
If and I know Rick can do it. I watched him do it at the 10 off. I had some fun at
Yeah,
the 10 off, and I would love to
and
go out there.
I'm even used to working in an air conditioned shop, and I go out there where it's, I don't know, a million fucking degrees with 300% humidity, and I'm like, what are you Texans doing down here? This is ridiculous. But there's a couple of tricks that you can do when you're laying film, and one is don't be hard-handed. A lot of us, we want to smack the film and we
I
want to
hate seeing
push
that.
the film. Use your fingertips as
Yeah.
gentle as possible. That film will slide with a lot less slip than you think it will if you don't especially if you're using a pressure sensitive adhesive, because pressure is what makes it stick. And you don't want to over soap your solution, because the more soap you put in it, the more layer you're putting between the adhesive and the glass, causing premature failure. So you always want to use as little slip as possible. So one thing that you always want to try to do is be as gentle placing the film, and be as precise as you can too. Lay it close, but lay it like when you're laying a door. Lay it up there. Don't try to lay it where it needs to go. lay it close to where it needs to go, so you don't have to be as specific about where you lay it. Your nerves will appreciate that. And then as soon as it touches the glass, use your fingertips, jiggle it up and down just a little bit, and slide it into place. And when you do this, it's going to just slide into place. And if it tacks, keep jiggling up and down with your fingertips, not your hand, because if you use your hand against it, then you're going to
you can get pock marks, glue marks. You can actually crease your film. You know, it's something I haven't seen. I watch at the 10 offs, and I don't see a lot in videos. And that is use your lips. You know, don't use your hips because you're trying to push around. Use your lips, meaning blow. The film is very light, and it's a sail. I mean, you don't have to blow that hard to move the film around in position. You're sitting there like this, and instead of rolling your hand in position, blow it in position. You didn't lay it. You didn't put any pressure. Pressure sensitive adhesive, guys. This is what we're talking about. So the less pressure, the better for aligning your position. Once you get it set, you make one couple anchor marks, and once it's set, then you can get busy. But until then, do a light pass to make sure it's all set in your tension. That way you don't get no tension fingers and find yourself trying to shrink something out later, because you can. The heat does allow you to get this out. But you guys take your cameras and start recording yourself. And when you go bingo, whenever you hit that corner just right and you slid up, it's like, oh, that was it. Mark it. Tell that camera, mark this. Come back and then watch it. See what you did right versus all the other windows that you do. Because that is going to improve you. And I'm telling you, every profession has a camera on them, improving them. Golfers, football, baseball, hockey, every one of them. And to sit there and watch your motions. Because if you start doing this now, it'll get you ready for the September, guys. It don't take too much longer.
And here's the other thing too, when it comes to sticky window film's going to stick on you sometimes before you want it to. And one thing that I see so many people do, and I cringe, is as soon as it sticks a little bit, they push more. When it sticks, use your eyes, look around, jiggle it a little bit and see where it's sticking. And you can push just a little bit of solution into that sticky spot, and the whole thing will just then gently slide again. You don't have to, just because it got a little stuck, push harder, because again, pressure sensitive adhesive, when you push harder, it sticks more. And then you can get frustrated thinking, oh my God, this shit is so sticky. When the reality is you had one little sticky spot that you could have just rubbed a little more solution into it. And the other thing is I like to use a fan sprayer rather than a cone sprayer, because the cone sprayer sets you up to think you got it good and wet because you got water running everywhere, but you've got these hollow dry spots that you actually missed without realizing it. And I saw you did a video spraying the patterns on cement to show how one coats over the other. And you know, it's true. A cone sprayer, even though it's adjustable,
remember that video now,
it sprays a hollow cone, which gives you a big dry spot in the middle. So you have to spray all over the place to get that. And so many people, they use the cone sprayer because it's adjustable, where the fan sprayer is not adjustable. But the fan sprayer doesn't need to be adjustable because it creates a nice even line all the way across the window, coating 100% of that window, making your film seem less sticky. So
I don't care if you air peel, table peel off the car. You wet that film as wet as possible. Wet. Not the window. The wet in the window can have a mist. You don't want, you want to mitigate your water inside of the cars, especially nowadays. But you don't need a lot of water on there. It's more about the adhesive getting it full saturated. It's sucking in water. It's a dry adhesive. Even though, you know, we don't call it a dry adhesive, call it PS adhesive, it's swelling. The adhesive is actually swelling up and expanding a little bit, you guys, when you're hitting that water. So the more water you hit, and you know, give it a few seconds, and that's why you want to have it. Flat tables. I've seen people peeling off flat tables. Don't. Dust settles fast. I do stuff in the glass shop sometimes, and I can't roll it out fast enough after I squeegee to avoid dust. And if we know we can't do it on a roll table, when got it on a vertical, like on the side of a truck, if the trucks ain't there, because sometimes the side of the trucks will work great. A couple blocks, and I can do one on the side. But laying them vertical, I learned this a long time ago when we used to do artwork on the back of cars, but every one of our peel boards were at 45-degree angles, and we still got a little bit of dust. But you want them probably at a slight 50-degree angle, not at a that way it's the weight's laying in. And that way you don't have to worry about it rolling back off you if it does want to curl a little bit. Once the weight, gravity's want to pull it forward. So vertical, I don't recommend. I recommend a slight 5-degree angle on your glass peel boards. And then set up some, so if you got the time in this winter, buy yourself a big tank. Everybody sees these Troop tank spray systems. They have bigger ones that'll hook right up to a big tank of, don't get too big of a solution tank, because eventually you'll start, if you don't use the water, soap always emulsifies. Always.
Make what you need for today, every day.
Right. It never stops.
That's another question I see a lot in the industry that's going to beat you up is, how long is my solution good? Honestly, guys, your solution's good today. Okay. Especially in this heat. In the wintertime, you can go 3 or 4 days with the solution. But in the summertime, your solution's good today. Tomorrow, your solution will be different. Even if it's in the same can, the same mixture, you shook it up first, it doesn't matter. I know you got a little more flexibility when doing flat glass, but if we're talking PS adhesive and automotive, you need the amount of solution that you need. And tomorrow it's not going to be the same as it was today, because it breaks down.
Yeah,
and
you'll actually get a sour smell to your tank. If you leave water in for a week, the water will have a sour smell to it. You know what I mean? And that's because of all the emulsification that's going on, every particle in there. Now, you can avoid this with certain things like distilled water. But distilled water and how soap reacts with it, remember, emulsification, that word, what is it doing? It's attaching itself to particles in the water and making them thinner, like little tails, so you can squeegee them out of the film better. Without soap, you can't get water out of the window. You can use as much water as you want. Put it on a flat piece of glass. Try it. You're not getting the water out. It's going to stick and pop on you. Yeah. So the surfactant isn't just for moving the film. It's so you can get the water out. So in certain cases, there's this point where you don't want too much soap, but you want enough to where it's thin enough to get as much water out as possible. So in a lot of cases, especially flat glass, more water is better, but you're still in that situation like, wow, we don't want to flood this person's home. So sometimes when we're on a commercial site and I'll put the red tip in. Hey, we go, baby. You know what I'm talking about. That tank go fast too, though. So remember that. So you're just going to be going through water, but you don't have to worry about any dry spots, or you got plenty of movement and slide availability with the bigger pieces of film. And remember that if you are working with smaller pieces of film, small piece of film, you work at those little wings and stuff like that, go get yourself a baby soap bottle. What I mean, not baby shampoo, I mean just a little bit of soap in it. Why? Because what happens when you try to squeeze those little feet? There's enough surface. It starts moving around. So throw some alcohol or anything. Make that sucker tacky. You know what I mean?
I love it when the customers say, "Oh, you count those windows? Those are so small." And it's like, you don't understand. Sometimes the smaller the window, the harder the window. Leave me alone. I charge what I charge because I do. But also keep in mind, guys, when the weather's changing and the humidity levels change and the temperatures change and all this, and you're having to adjust your solution, you're not adjusting your solution because, oh, I found the perfect mix. You found the perfect mix for this situation. Sometimes that changes. The best way to alleviate that is tint in a climate controlled environment. Keep your climate consistent. You can keep your slip consistent, because every day that the weather's different, your slip's going to act different. And some days you're going to be like, I can't get this shit to tack down, but yesterday it was just fine. And well, it's 10 degrees cooler and the humidity's dropped 30%, so it's huge.
I don't want to sound Sammy Gramish, but I got a way of being able to feel the soap. I can know by that. So start paying attention to whenever the soap's working best and what climate, and feel how the soap, because your hand's going to feel the difference. You will feel the
Yep.
difference between your surfactant. The glue feels the difference. You're going to feel the difference. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
I
when
actually also I
go ahead.
also used to use Dawn just because of the color blue that it was. When I used the 3-gallon pump up, the clear one from it's a Hudson sprayer, I could see the mix and I could judge by the color of the mix where I was as far as slip. And I know that's Dawn is controversial. There's a lot of people in the industry. Oh no, it's a degreaser. It's going to
Got
mess up your film.
30-year-old film with it on.
I
So
was going to say I've never personally had a problem with it. If you're worried about it, that's cool. But food coloring, no, not food coloring. You want a UV coloring so that the color will disappear. Food coloring, I'm afraid, might change the tint of your windows just a little bit. But if
green being one of them. Now, yellow is
Mhm.
the fastest fading, and blue
Yes.
being the second. Green doesn't fade so fast, you guys. Green does hold on to its value for a while.
Carlos says game dish soap. Oh, Carlos had a question earlier too. He wanted to know what is the cheapest nano film.
You just you got call. I think there's
The
some people
the easiest
speak like that.
available
They probably do.
cheapest nano film is probably Lexan, but there are a lot of Chinese guys in this
That's
groups
X
that'll
Sun.
sell you that'll sell you nanotechnology for super cheap. But the thing is, what are you going to do with this? Because it's not going to act the same as a decent film, so you're probably going to struggle with it, and you're not going to be able to stand behind it. And the amount of money you're saving, keep in mind, a 40-inch roll is going to do 10 cars for you. So if you save $40 on a roll of film, which seems like a lot, up front, but $40 on a roll of film is $4 a car that you're saving. For that $4 a car, what are you giving up? And the bottom line is you're giving up the money you're able to charge to tint that car because you know what you're using, and nobody
Right.
charges premium prices for garbage film.
Yeah.
So
One of the things that turned me on to a good product was a bad product, and the fact that I was using the good product. And after this situation, they couldn't get a hold of the product. Okay. And whenever he told me he said the name to me, right? Can't get a hold of it. Whoa. Hello. So now I know what manufacturer he was actually putting inside of his distributorship. But what he did is he brought me something called Sun or Star Sun or Sun Film or something like that. It had a star and sun. Oh my God. I mean, I've never been so weirded out by this is really supposed to be a professional. I called him up and said, you owe me money. You owe me $800 for this lift. Why? Because I lost the entire weekend. And you owe me money for this. And he wasn't going to pay you. No distributor's going to pay you for that. I got you your film. I said, this is not film. It's stretched. You squeegeeing it out and it's stretching. Like, what's going on here? And it's rubbery like a trash bag. It cuts like a trash bag. I'm 2 windows in. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just done with this film because it was hard to peel. And I was like, and it was a Saturday when I had to do it. So I didn't even get to talk to him till Monday. Meanwhile, my customer, I'm sitting there like this. I had to call my customer down. And finally, he shows up, and I finally meet him. He shows up in this 500 SL Goldwing Mercedes. It was sweet, boy. But I told him the situation, and he goes, "You came under high recommendation. I appreciate you being honest with me. Sorry, it's going to cost you. See you next weekend." So we end up rescheduling for the next weekend. So, but man, that sucked, man. So, and now that building doesn't even exist anymore. Less than 10 years later, it's gone. That's what happens out here in Arizona. They'll destroy stuff and build up something new. It's no rust.
Me and the wife went, and there was this little strip plaza in Pontiac, and this one little piece of it, the guy was renting, and he was just renting it for storage for his roofing company. And so he had roofing tile shingles and stuff in it, and he wanted just silver 20 on the front. He wanted some privacy. And so we went and did that, and there was like five sections of this building across there, and it looked so funny driving by it. And then all of a sudden one day we see it being tore down, and they tore everything down but his section. So his little piece of the building is still standing and the rest of it's gone. And it's like, huh, I wonder if it's because it looks so good with the window film.
I don't know. They moved Barrett Jackson. So Barrett Jackson must have a new place because they usually have a museum out here or a spot. Well, not a museum, but a couple of their cherry cars that they usually have on display. But that was for Russo Steel is who that was for. And they actually, that whole building used to be a distributor dealer. And what they put in there was all of his show cars. So it was all tinted and we put tint all the way around on it to keep the UV from coming in there, and blacked out most of the building. And only the bottom part had film on it. And then they put curtains all behind it. But it was a museum. You never knew there was cars in there if you ever drove by. Never knew it. But that was that's kind of cool. Those people. And the funny part is like, your cars? No, I don't want to. I don't want to touch that car. I was looking at this car going, man, that looks like a fun car to do. You're going to pull every window out for me? Because that's what I'd ask you to do if you were going to bring that car to me. It was like a 62 Gullwing Mercedes or something like that.
Oh,
it
geez.
was sweet, man. It looked like something out of James Bond. His other car he showed up in the next time when he went to pay me, some type of Lamborghini thing. It's like, whoa, that is sweet, man. I was like, God damn, how much money you got? No, I don't care how much money he's got, but I just like cars. So I mean, I miss cars. I do that. It was sometimes, you get in there and you get into a car and you're sitting there and you jump in this car and you're getting a Mustang on 5.0. Cool. Boom. What? Don't do it, Billy. Don't do it. What's in here? That's 1,200 in the hood. Oh, I bet. You just don't know what you're getting into sometimes. You get in sometimes and you look at it, you're like, you got to turn all the switches off. You're like trying to make sure the radio's off, and you hit the wrong button. You hit the button to just turn the crossover back on because the stereo was on, but the crossover was off. Boom, boom, boom. That scared the hell out of you, by the way. You ever done that? Turn the vehicle on and the stereo just loud as hell, scares the shit out of you.
So for those customers, I will tend to, like, I just calmly reach over and turn the stereo off. And when I get done with the tint job, I make sure I leave it exactly where they had it, because I want them to experience the same thrill I got,
Boom, boom, boom.
Carlos makes a good point. He says you have to check your film before you use it. Demo at first and then invest. And honestly, in 35 years, that's what I've seen in the industry, because what I've seen in the industry is so many fly-by-night people, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we have quite a handful of them right now trying to pass off their film as amazing and remarkable and this and that. And you really do have to play with it yourself and maybe ride around with it for at least a couple of months to see what there is about it. And then the real problem is behind that is, you still don't know how it's going to last for your customer's car, because after a couple of months or even a couple of weeks, you might be like, yeah, this seems all right. And, I mean, I made this problem with an American-made brand that I used, and I invested wholeheartedly in it. I used it. I put it on my own car. I wasn't mad at it. And we tinted thousands of cars with it. And the problem is, all of a sudden it failed. And it failed to the sum of almost $16,000 in warranty work in a short period of time. And the company wasn't real good about taking care of it. So, I mean, for a company our size, we were able to overcome it. I knew a lot of people that because of this film in this company, they lost their business. So what I vowed to do when I became a distributor is make sure that I can trust the film that I'm selling you. And I know that you're going to be okay. And I know that the manufacturer is going to stand behind anything that goes wrong if they do have some sort of catastrophic thing. But that is not the industry standard. You can't just go to any organized or reputable film company and know that they're going to sell you good film. And the reason I know that is look at most of these distributors. You look at their lineup and they've got 7, 8 different lines. You don't have good, better, a little bit more better, better, more better, better, you know, and little steps, incremental. They're like, you got this section's garbage, but they're not going to tell you it's garbage. And then they got these few that, you know, the world's going to brag about, but these ones are cheap. So they want to sell you those.
Hey, Rick,
And
it's been a couple years. I want to ask you about that. What do you sell the most of? Because a few years ago, it was still Basic Dye was the leading sold film out there amongst
it really was. And, you know, as much as tinners want to be irritated with that ceramic craze on TikTok where it's clear on the inside and dark on the outside, that brought, even though it was ignorant awareness, it brought ceramic to the public's eye. We sell a ton of ceramic. We sell a ton of carbon. And probably the thing we sell the least of is the dyed film, which is crazy. And thank you, TikTok, because customers are walking into tint shops now asking for ceramic, and which means my customers, where they were solely on dyed, they get asked too often for ceramic. So they're like, yeah, let me try some of this. Let me try some of that. And now that they have it to offer and know how to sell it, they're selling more of that than the dyed film.
Well, Daryl Smith was on the Clubhouse the other day, and he was talking about how they had what they've been doing for the automotive industry, and they dove into the IR and how that was broken down and stuff like that. So people had true numbers, so they couldn't get sued for something, okay, for giving misinformation or bad information to somebody. If you're saying it's cutting 90% of the heat out and you're not being very specific to what you're saying, and someone, you know, comes out there and says, well, it's not cutting 90% of the heat out. Yeah, it's cutting 90% of the IR heat out.
Right. It's cutting 90% of a part of the heat.
Of a part of and even of that IR spectrum. So even in that IR spectrum that it's cutting out, yeah, it's cutting out that narrow bandwidth, which is a lot of where the heat comes from. But there's more heat. There's still the other 49% of the heat still in the atmosphere from the rest of the light. So we have shading coefficients that have to come into play. You have reflection and stuff to that nature. What I fail to see is when they push something so hard, they don't understand when you, like in Arizona, we get a 180-degree parking lot. Your car is going to be 180 degrees if you seal it up, maybe to 190 with
minimum
with the ceramic inside of it, with the ceramic tint under. It's going to be generally 7 to 10 degrees hotter than your average window film that we've tested out here when it comes to solar absorption of the glass temperature itself. Now you take the square footage of your glass and you increase that all the way around your car, and that's how much you're elevating. Now at this point in time, you start getting convection because you haven't left your window cracked and you're getting no airflow in there, and the oven doesn't heat up until you shut the door. 350 ain't going to cook the baked cookies until you shut the door. So 100%. You shut the door on the oven, now you're going to start getting it hot. So, you know, people are wicking away at 107 degrees. You start getting air friction out here, people, and you'll actually get hotter air after about 110 degrees. You'll put your hand out the window and it feels hotter, not cooler.
Yeah, so I've noticed that.
If you're doing it in 120 degrees, the wind temperature, whenever you guys see me popping 135 degrees on my scale and my 125s and stuff, that's not the temperature, folks. That is the wind temperature on my car, because it's set down below on the front of most of your temperature gauges are set on your grill right above the road, by the way, not too far in the shade behind your bumper, about 2 feet off the ground. That's where your temperature is. That controls your everything in your car, tells you how hot it is outside too. So that temperature gauge, when it goes off, it controls how your car runs and everything. Your AC lets you know what's going on up there. So if you're having problems, look to that sometimes. But anyways, back to what I'm saying. That temperature is because of the friction that I'm getting from the road heat that's exacerbated by the solar gain on that black asphalt to 140 degrees. So we
Yeah.
start getting, we're not going to get a cooling effect on our ceramic film out here, guys. And if you put
You know,
that on an overtop, and I'm seeing people do it, oh, dude, I'm not trying to make fun of people, but I've seen some bad information. And I don't make mad because those TikToks are putting people, I'm getting people asking me about rose gold tint, you know, and that magical tint, you know. I'm selling film because of it. Yeah, I know Carlos here. We're friends. It shows like, hey, this guy, you want to talk to him? Like, you know, we can make that happen. No. It's funny when you say that to him too. I can make that happen. It's kind of cool to say that, isn't it? To say that, you know. But yeah, you know, why are we going to get mad at some of the people that are out there, you know, making awareness of it, regardless if it's a little bit, you know, on the borderline of what the truth is. You know, sometimes people are going to know to their environment, understanding your environment, because you know you can go somewhere else and be perfectly fine with 5% ceramic above your head on your rooftop. Woohoo! That's 100. That's how far above your head? Let me put
yeah, it
yeah.
does tend to be totally honest. I mean, in an automobile, the best heat rejection film for your sunroof that close to your head is probably going to be a metallized film. Now, you'll notice in my lineup, I don't carry a metallized film. Avery Dennison actually has a metallized film, and I don't carry it because back in the 80s, 90s, back in the early 2000s, 04, 03, I don't know, somewhere around then. Whenever Cadillac started putting navigation in their cars from the factory, they started burying navigation antenna in the rear package tray. And well, it just so happened I tented for a Cadillac dealership. And I had to redo a whole bunch of cars because all I used was metallized film because it was the best performing thing around. In fact, to this day, well, it's probably not the best to this day because I had to reduce the metal content in it so that it didn't interfere with electronics so much. But I don't mess with it because of that experience. And, you know, reps will tell me, well, we're not having any problems with it. And you don't understand, up until 2003, I wasn't having problems with it until I did, when the automotive technology outran the film technology and they got in each other's way. And guess who lost? I lost. So I'm not doing metal and film anymore.
You gotta work around
So
old people, brother. Whenever it came out with the sputtered aluminums, right? They'd listen to AM. And whenever their
yeah,
back window was facing away from the antenna, they lost their station. I mean, you know, whenever they're driving towards you, I mean, because the film would block it. So any other direction, but when they were driving south towards South Mountain, they had no reception. And these old people love their AM radio. They really do. So we get some complaints, and it was on Crown Vics, all the big, you know, LeSabres, and they started putting the rear antenna in the back window.
yeah.
I would literally take my knife and sit there and trace that that ding antenna out and take that piece of film off to make them happy. Because they, you know, what the option is to go back to a dye product or something like that. You know, that is an
Reduce the
option.
performance.
You know, I know that some people, whenever they first started coming out with super optics, that they couldn't shrink the drive at all. They had no idea. These guys, you know, a lot of these kids were still didn't have this internet, no connection to sit there and ask each other how to do this. And, you know, by that point in time, a lot of us had shut up, you know, so we're not going to help them out. So you know what they did? They put a film on it, a charcoal from Matico that happened to match up very clear on the back, and they shrank it down. So you wasn't getting a full ceramic package from the dealership, by the way. You was getting ceramic on the sides and another on the back.
And that's bad practice, guys. I know shops that actually do that. They'll buy, and
Oh, they're still doing that?
I
Oh shit.
I try
That's
to
like
keep
in the
my eye
90s,
open
man.
for it, but well, and I can spot it because I see companies that only buy ceramic short rolls, 20s and 24s. And it's like, but you can't do back windows like that. And I don't think you're doing back windows in two pieces, but maybe, I don't know. But
I'd hate to try
my
to
guess is,
slice in ceramic because ceramics don't cut
yeah,
as smooth. You know, they don't. They're
they're
harder
a
on
little
your.
harder on the blade. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I sharpen my knife on a ceramic. Simple as that. You know, a ceramic stones is what we use to sharpen blades, guys. So remember, ceramic is technically harder than steel.
Mhm. So yeah, that's bad practice though. It's bad juju. And I've had come into our own shop cars that, because of the fading and the time on the car. And now the back window always fails before the doors, but you can tell the back window ain't the same film. And the customer typically, and here in Michigan, they revolve cars every couple of years. So typically the failing tint on the car isn't the customer's tint job. It's the car they bought. But you see that and you're like, they're using two different films on this car, and it's ridiculous. And
well, I honestly think it's time for the manufacturers to start stepping up and certifying people to make certifications out of the situation. We are a real industry nowadays. So damn well, let's start acting like one. Why can't we have certifications? Why don't people be certified to be able to work on a Tesla or a car that's going to sit there and cost them, a $200,000 car if they can melt stuff down in it with the water drop? I mean, these people,
inflation is going to do that for us, okay? Because we as an industry, we can't come together for long enough to make that happen industry wide and bring public awareness to it. But inflation is, as much as I hate it, one thing that I know is going to happen is window tint used to be the kind of thing that people knew that for a couple of $100 you could start your own business.
Mm-hmm.
And we all see the trend, and it's not going to be like that much longer because shit is getting expensive. To buy a real set of tools to do everything that you need to do, you're close to $1,000 in tint tools to have everything that you need. And especially if you mix in a film handler with it or a CAG, and window tint, you used to be able to find $100 rolls of tint that were halfway decent to start out with. And then those people would sell you a half roll for like $60, and you could start out pretty cheap, but that's not happening anymore with all these price increases.
I like to see that, because with certification, we can get our own regulation, by saying that auditing, meaning like, you're paying attention. Even every dealer knows who's popping the illegals. Trust me on that. The numbers show. You got your percentage.
Ryan Wilcox said that WFR is working on an accreditation for installers, and I almost forgot about that. But yeah, that stems from the fact that the IWFA, they focus really hard on the flat glass stuff, and they do a really good job. But I think that the problem is that automotive has been kind of overlooked, because when you compare the potential of the two sides of the industry, let's face it, flat glass is where it's at. If you can,
but what about that endorphin money? That endorphin money that I'm worried about. You guys in the automotive side, I'm really in that endorphin money. I'm calling that windshield money. You guys, are we going to self-regulate? And that's what I mean by having that auditing and stuff like that. The self-regulating within the industry, so we can keep it out of the government's hands and stop it from happening. Because the more and more we sit there, expose it, more TikToks, more stuff like that, somebody's senator's daughter is going to get killed. And as simple as that. And, a senator's son, somebody is going to happen. And it's going to be in Congress, and it's going to be all said, my son died because of this.
The thing is, so that's imagination running wild. Here in Michigan, I happen to know for a fact, because my entire life, the front three windows have been illegal in Michigan. And what that does is it makes most cops unconcerned with whether you have tint or not. In states like Arizona, where you have a legal limit, the cops are more concerned about it. So you see a little more activity with the people running around a little darker than legal, or doing things because it catches the cops' attention. And for whatever reason, they focus more on it. But I think
more
that
people get shot because of the illegal tint than really, from a cop interaction because of that.
I understand, but in Michigan, cops rather not pull over a car with tinted windows, and so they don't. But what I'm saying is, my belief is that if the government got involved and decided that over the entire country, window tint is illegal on the front half of a car, then you would see a lot more leniency with window tint. They wouldn't be strict about it because the cops personally fear pulling over a car with tinted windows. So
Yeah,
the,
but I'm not
if
talking
they
about that. I'm not talking about the cop aspect. I'm talking about the safety aspect of the dark windows. And we still don't have headlights because of the driving and the angles of light and how they go. You guys, we can only reach out so far before we're going to blind the other person on the other side of the road because light deflects at an angle, 8 degrees. We know that, okay? It's just going to happen. So you at certain point, you get bright enough far out there to be able to bright up the road so you have enough stopping distance with half your stopping light disappeared with 50%, we're talking. 50% visible light transmission. Remember what that means, people. Visible light transmission. This is what we see. The 15% of the light that we see is gone at night, down to 2%. And now you're going to cut that in 50%. And you're out there on a dark desert highway with you're heading out to Hotel California and someone loses the black refrigerator out of the back of the truck. You are not going to be able to, you're going to overcorrect or you're going to end up hitting it. Because you can't correct at that type of speed. And people like, well, and how many people have been overlooked because of not knowing that was the actual cause of the accident? So eventually things will get caught into the more and more and more we see these illegals going up into 35%
all right,
levels.
all
That's
right.
what I'm
So
saying. This is about braking distance and light.
one thing that we don't do here on Tool Talk Tuesday is we don't push issues. We will
Okay,
talk about
sorry. I mean,
issues,
I'm
but
just talking about the
we're
physical light
yeah.
thing.
Well, we're unfortunately in the industry, it is something that we all should be aware of. Me personally, I tint windshields, and I'll tint windshields down to 35%. I've personally driven with windshields at 35%, and a good set of headlights is fine. Without a good set of headlights, it gets pretty sketchy. 50% is my preferred shade. I get customers all the time comes into my tint shop wanting darker than 35%, and we walk many of them because the risk. But I can't sit here and tell the industry that they're fucked up and they need to change,
No, I'm just
because
talking about if they're not aware
I
of it.
had to learn what I had to learn on my terms. And I believe that for the entire world. I will tell people my reasoning for what I do and don't do, and because it's what I believe. But beyond that, it's got to be their decision, so
Well, my experience came out when, and this is true amongst the woods, especially in Michigan and places where they have deer. I deer hunt. I know that might upset some people. I don't care. That's my thing. But I was out deer hunting one night and I did my windshield 50% with a neutral film with a low reflectivity. Okay. I even kept that in mind. So I have a neutral, low reflectivity. You barely can tell the window's tinted at all. All right. But it is a 50% VLT. And we're out spotlighting, not illegally, to locate animals just because we got up, and sometimes it's best to go out at night to locate because they're nocturnal in Arizona. And they have this funny thing. When the light hits their eyes, you can see their eyes. They glow. And out in the field, we can, before the light even shines on them, we can see little green eyeballs all out in the fields. We turn the light on them, all of a sudden we see their bodies. So I go, hey, we got a deer out in front of, out in the field to the left of us. I got deer on the right of us. And I was like, wow, I saw a lot of deer. I was like, I wonder how big the herd is. We had more than we knew, because in front of us, because the way our light was working, just outside of that rim of the light was all the deer. But because of the 50% light rejection, we couldn't see any of their eyeballs. We pulled the film off and they were there. Now, that sucked because I had adhesive all over my windshield and got dusty the rest of the weekend. And I didn't have a razor blade or any of my tools. So it turned out to be a bad idea to do that. But turned out to be worse later on. But still, my point was I lost the visibility of seeing deer that was only 200 yards away from me. Now, 200 yards away, you're traveling at 60 miles an hour. That's 100 feet per
Billy,
second.
guess what time it is?
It's math time. I know. Analytical
No,
guy got to go.
you're in a different time zone, but here it's 6:03 and
Oh,
we're on till 6, so
all right, cool. But the only reason I was talking about it is because it is math, and I love math. And that's all. I ain't trying to
yeah.
dog on anybody. And with
We
people, if they
appreciate
start understanding more about the light issues and the VLTs, and that's what I meant by certification, and understanding what those numbers actually mean in that book. That's what I mean. That's
Billy,
yeah,
all.
I appreciate the
absolutely.
knowledge. I actually got one of those IWFA books just so I can learn even just a little bit about it. And man, you summarized a lot, and I really appreciate you coming on here and
My
putting that
interest
knowledge
is
out
for you
there.
guys, not to bash anybody. It's to
Yeah, no,
save people, not to hurt people.
yeah.
Hope you
Absolutely.
understand it, guys. So
Yes.
on that note,
We do appreciate your knowledge. Yeah, on that note, did you get it?
yeah, I've been out here. It's 112. I don't have any cool. It's about 50% humidity, and no, that's actually only 106. I'm lying. But if there's 112, I wouldn't be out here.
I don't
So
even know nothing about that. I'm not interested. That's too
yeah,
hot
but
for
can you
me.
imagine if it was like I've been in near you where it's 80 and 80. That's worse than this. 90 and
Okay.
90 it's Houston. You were there. Oh, by the way, I want to share a moment. I got to inspect Rick's tent job. Okay, that boy put some tent up. I couldn't find a speck in that damn film. I found a bunch of crinkles
All
up in the corner, and it turned out it wasn't crinkle. They were using this duck aluminum foil. Remember that you
Yeah.
used to tape off the felt? And it looked just like there. And even Nipsey's all like, "No, man, I thought the same thing too. It looked like the film was all crunched up in the corner. The way the film was,
No.
the tape was reflecting back. We pulled the tape out, and guess what? The window was flawless. So, you guys, when you're listening to
Absolutely.
Rick, understand and know this man does do flawless work. All right. So, hats off to you, Rick. Thanks for doing what you do on this tool time. I think you're helping people out. And tell
We'll
Alex I
try.
thank him for everything he does too. All right. And I
Yeah, man.
appreciate the chocolates. I chopped them up and gave them all to the grandkids because I'm down
There you
30
go.
pounds. Woohoo!
We'll keep that shit going. All right, man. We'll see you next time. Holy bejesus, Batman. Did that really just happen? We thought we had it under control for a minute, and then the knowledge really started coming out. And I'm not doubting anybody for their opinion and everything, but one thing I can promise you guys is I'm not trying to push opinions on anybody. So yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out, and we're really happy to have you here. And I do like to discuss the controversial stuff. One thing that I don't like is when it sounds like somebody's trying to tell somebody else what to do, because we all have our own lives to live and we all have our own lessons to learn. So hopefully we can all take something good, positive from Billy's message. And yeah, I think we all have morals and understanding of diminished visibility, and we all use our best judgment. I don't see too many people in the industry trying to put 5% on windshields. I know here and there there's people that do, but here and there there's people that'll walk up to a child and shoot them in the face. You know, that's not the norm. So yeah. Alex be leaving. He says, I'm out of here, yo. So you guys been absolutely great. And again, another Ryan says, I think it's a valid conversation that should be talked about amongst us too. It is. It is something, but you know, opinions and emotions fly hard on the topic about windshield tint. So one thing that we have to try to do is regulate ourselves and respect other people's opinions, whether they coincide with ours or don't. You know, we need to try to see if we can see the other person's side of it. And I totally see Billy's side of it, but me personally, he's a little further than I am with that. You know, I believe that if you're allowed to wear sunglasses when you're driving, make your own determination. But it's not against the law to wear sunglasses when you drive. 5% on a windshield is a bad idea because it is only allowing you 5% visibility. And at night, it gets even worse. But Jason Omoleski drives at night with his sunglasses on, but his sunglasses probably ain't more than 35%. And he'll tell you he can see fine. So make sure your stuff is good, and make sure your customer stuff is good. And if your customer insists on getting darker than what you're comfortable with, explain to them that what they're trying to achieve is privacy. And if they do the rest of their car dark, the windshield's automatically going to look dark. There's no reason to go darker than you need to on your windshield if you've done the rest of the car to achieve what you want. 50% can look really dark on a windshield if the rest of the car is 5%. So just little things. So that's my thought on that. You know, we have ways as an industry to try to curve things. Over the last 10 years, one thing that I've proved to myself is that I have myself the power by example to change the industry in my area. And we all have that same power in our own areas. And collectively, we can change the entire industry. And that's why I'm so for these movements like what WFR is doing and what TintWiz is all about, and the tinner battles and things that are happening. And well, Tinners for a Cause, you know, things that are happening around this industry that is just amazing. That's going to change the face of our industry. It's fantastic. So some people get a little more excited and emotional about some of the topics, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to step back and sometimes shut them down. Now I have a magic button. I mean, I could have just shut them off, but I try to be respectful. And you know, there's that. What's up, Eric? I didn't know you was here. So with all that said, that means stay in your lane. Yes, 100%. Great education. Thanks for everything I do. Well, thank you, Dave. It's time for me to go home. Yeah, you know, I've got this. I've got this new truck. Did I show you guys my new truck? I love my new truck. Check out this new truck. I'm going to show you one more time. Bam! Look at that. Isn't that sweet? That's my new truck. I traded the Kia in for it. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the Kia. I love the Kia a lot. But I traded the Kia in for it because I need to pull a trailer. And the Kia, although it would pull a trailer, it wouldn't be smart to pull the trailer with the Kia. So I traded the Kia for this. And this has about 30,000 more miles than the Kia. And it is 3 years older than the Kia. So it is what it is, but it's mine and I love it and I'm going to go drive it. So it is a gorgeous truck. It kept screaming at me I was looking at newer. So my Kia is a 2020 and it had 23,000 miles on it. And I wanted something that was a 2020 or newer that had as close to the 23,000 miles. I went there to purchase a Dodge Ram that was a 2020 and it had 31,000 miles on it. But the Dodge Ram, first thing I noticed was the tires were bald. And with 31,000 miles, bald tires tells me somebody enjoyed the throttle way too much. So whoever owned this before me has definitely been hard on it, drove the piss out of this thing. Then I started driving it and I noticed at stoplights, the idle was a little bit rough. It had a little bit of a sputter to it. I didn't like that. But the final straw was when I realized it didn't have nav, and that's just unacceptable. So we took that off the plate and had to look at some other things. I looked at a EcoBoost Ford, but it was just too stripped down. It didn't have any heated or cooled seats. It didn't have any of some of the best luxuries that, I mean, I've grown to like some luxuries in a car. And so then I was looking at this 3/4 ton Silverado, and It was pretty sweet, but it was a base model, so it was missing a lot of things, but it was big and it was bad. And it was also just 2 cars down from this Silverado, which is a half ton. But the package that this one has on it is just absolutely amazing. It's got a 6.2 liter and it is just badass. And I told her I wanted to drive this one. So she went and got the keys and I was driving it and I looked at her and I says, I'm buying this one. And she says, this doesn't fit any of your criteria. I says, but it's got all the luxury stuff. It runs beautifully. It sits way up like I love it. And no, I'm not going to slap a supercharger on it. I might put a supercharger on the Jeep though. Shh, shh, shh. Don't tell the wife. She don't know. But I'm thinking about it. Maybe one day. Anyway, what's up, Tommen? You made it. You're not late. You're here. I'm still here. Although I'm late because it's 6:13 and I'm supposed to be going. So, speaking of that, I'm not changing the cam either, but I might do a cam in the Jeep. Shh, don't tell. I might do a stroker in the Jeep too. And God only knows what that Jeep might do. But there's a surprise coming with the Jeep. So it's supposed to Wednesday, the Jeep's going away and it's going to be gone for 2 weeks. And when it comes back, you will not recognize it because it's going to look like a brand new Jeep. So that's exciting. I'm excited. And I don't need to straight pipe it. It's got a sweet ass exhaust. It's got just enough rumbling and just enough roar. And that's all I need. But you can definitely, when it starts, you know, it's a big V8. So that's that. All right. Stop talking, guys. You're going to keep me on here all night. I got to go. So until next Tuesday, I will catch you on the other side. Squeegees up, guys.